past 4 years, I've had the privilege of serving my constituents in the legislature. I'm proud of our United Conservative team and everything we've accomplished, including focusing spending on the priorities of Albertans, lowering taxes and cutting red tape, and restoring investor confidence and creating tens of thousands of new, good-paying jobs. We've come a long way, but we're not done yet. Since the start of this election, I've made it clear that families are at the heart of our United Conservative Party campaign. Across this great province, you'll find parents striving to find that right balance between working hard to get ahead and raising their families. That, of course, looks different for every family. No matter how they do it, however, one thing they all share is they have enough on their plate without the government wanting more. That's why our United Conservative Party is fighting to keep low taxes and make the cost of living affordable. Why we're fighting for safe streets, and why we're fighting for world-class healthcare families can access when they need it, where they need it. Tomorrow, Albertans will celebrate the women who brought them into the world and offered constant love and support, while the cards, flowers, and all the rest are very much appreciated. And as I can attest, there is no greater Mother's Day gift than happy, healthy children. Whether you're a mother or father, an aunt or uncle, or a family friend, children bring joy to all the lives they touch. While adults do our best to impart knowledge and wisdom to children, in truth, we learn just as much from them. They are our legacy and our future, and we have a responsibility to keep them happy, safe, and healthy. That's why our United Conservative government has invested so heavily in children's health. It's my pleasure to now invite my colleague, Minister of Health, Jason Copping, to provide some more details. Jason?
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and great to see you again, Premier. It's a pleasure to be here, and as Health Minister, a husband, and a father to 3 girls, I know our health system has to be flexible enough to meet the evolving needs of all Albertans. We know that women of all ages can face unique health issues and need to be comfortable talking about their health and advocating for the care that they need and they deserve. Children, of course, have their own unique needs in terms of care and treatment. And that's why it's so important to devote dedicated resources to both. In this year's budget, for instance, the United Conservative Party provided vital funding to ensure the Alberta Children's Hospital in Calgary and the Stollery Children's Hospital in Edmonton are better equipped to care for the youngest Albertans. This government investment will cover 10 new surge beds and 6 pediatric intensive care unit beds at Alberta Children's Hospital, as well as 12 new surge beds and 1 pediatric intensive care unit bed at the Stollery Children's Hospital. To support this increase in beds, we also provided funding to hire an additional 113 permanent, year-round critical care positions. These new frontline staffing resources will provide additional capacity to meet the increasing demand for inpatient pediatric care. In terms of women's health, we're supporting a new community health facility in Lacrete with a birthing center and midwifery-led program. This investment will ensure moms with low-risk pregnancies can give birth closer to home. We also lowered the recommended age for women to begin getting breast cancer screens from 45 to 45 from 50 years of age, making Alberta the first province in Canada to do so. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. 1 in 8 Alberta women will be diagnosed with this devastating disease in their lifetime, but many of them will have a greater chance of survival due to early detection through these screenings. This is a good start, but obviously there is much more work to do. So today I am extremely pleased to introduce our leader, Danielle Smith, to announce the next steps that a re-elected United Conservative government will take. Premier Smith.
Well, thank you so much to Rebecca and Jason for the introduction, and to both of you for all of your hard work in the different portfolios you've had. Rebecca, as many of you know, is our UCP candidate in Calgary Shaw. She's done a tremendous job as our Minister of Municipal Affairs, handling one of the most complex files in government with great skill and commitment. She's an extraordinary person through and through. You're lucky to have her on the UCP team, so thank you so much, Rebecca. And Jason Copping, our candidate in Calgary Varsity. Unfortunately, no health minister in Canada is more devoted and hardworking. He is passionate about our public healthcare system, and it shows in everything he does. So thank you so much to Jason. I would also like to thank Marita Obst, who's president of the Alberta Association of Midwives, who drove in from Golden to be here today. Earl Thiessen, who is the executive director of the Oxford House Foundation of Canada, as well as our other UCP candidates, Astrid Kuhn and Pamela Rath, for joining us here today. Tomorrow, Albertans will celebrate the women who brought them into this world and offered constant love and support. My mom is my biggest fan and biggest supporter, and I am her biggest fan and supporter. Can't wait to go over and see her for Mother's Day dinner. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the commitments that we have made in the past, because I think Jason has done a great job outlining our strong record and commitment to women's and children's health, and it's my pleasure today to announce our next steps. As you know, the United Conservative Party is fully committed to our publicly funded healthcare system. If re-elected, the UCP will introduce a number of additional measures to improve medical treatment for Alberta children and women. We will begin working to expand newborn screening to test for more diseases and conditions. Alberta already leads the country with newborn screenings for 22 conditions automatically scanned at birth. We will fund Alberta's health review to expand tests for 5 additional conditions. They will be in your press release, and I want to make sure that I don't mess up the pronunciation of them, but I will tell you a little bit about these 5 conditions. One of them is a common congenital infection that potentially impacts hearing loss, vision loss, as well as motor delay. Another is a condition that's a rare genetic disorder that causes developmental delay as well as intellectual disability. Third one is a genetic disease of the brain and muscles. The fourth one is also a rare multi-system genetic disorder that can damage organs, including the nervous system and the skeletal system. And the last one is a rare genetic disorder, enzyme disorder, potentially causing breathing problems, convulsions, and coma. And if these conditions are added, Albertans will fund screening for all 27 conditions at birth. The contribution newborn screening makes to improved health outcomes can't be stressed enough. Early detection, diagnosis, and intervention can prevent death or disability and enable children to reach their full potential. This investment will ensure more newborns get the very best possible start in life. Second, a re-elected UCP government will provide additional funding for testing, educational supports, and programs for children with autism and other complex needs and disabilities. These young Albertans have so much to contribute to our communities, and with the right supports, they can and will. I should just add a personal note that when I was in high school, I used to volunteer at the Dr. Gordon Townsend School, which is where I met many young people with cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy and other developmental disabilities. And so it's one of the areas that I felt so strongly about. And part of the reason when I got elected, having heard from the disability workers that they had not seen an increase in their contracts since 2014, I made an immediate decision to ask our seniors, community and social services minister to address it. And so we included $30 million in this year's budget so that Family Support for Children with Disabilities program can hire more support workers. We also increased their wages by 10% to ensure that we can attract the very best people possible to these roles. Caring, compassionate, and committed Alberta support workers are unrivaled, and we want to ensure more young people get the benefit of their expertise and their experience. So that's why today we're committing to additional personal investments in wraparound supports, integrating community, education, and healthcare. It's an unfortunate fact of life that some children face greater challenges than others. A re-elected UCP government will do everything we can to ensure that they get the supports and the services that they need to grow and to flourish into adulthood. Better supporting children naturally involves better supporting mothers. So that's why we will also hire more obstetricians for communities in need, including Lethbridge and other rural and mid-sized communities. Our plan includes funding more spaces at the University of Calgary, University of Alberta, and University of Lethbridge. And on top of that, a re-elected UCP government will develop a province-wide midwifery strategy that will include more funding for midwife positions, a move supported by the Alberta Association of Midwives. Midwives are critical to Alberta's healthcare system. Not only do they reduce the pressure on obstetrics, ERs, and primary care, but they also help to fill the gaps in rural Alberta. Indigenous midwives play a particularly important role as they provide culturally appropriate care in their communities. The UCP will also make doctors, midwives, and nurses eligible for our recently announced Alberta is Calling signing bonus and graduate retention tax credit, so we can attract and retain more practitioners in Alberta. These investments will ensure women are free to choose where they give birth, how they give birth, and who supports them through the process. And finally, a re-elected UCP government will provide a legacy grant to support women-focused research, advocacy, and care. Founded 3 years ago on International Women's Day, the Alberta Women's Health Foundation is an important addition to the province's health research ecosystem. It supports research undertaken by the Women and Children's Health Research Institute, which is building capacity, catalyzing research, innovation, and excellence, and developing evidence-informed practices, policies, and protocols in women's health across the province. The legacy grant I'm announcing today will do 3 things. 1, fund cervical cancer, heart disease, and other women's health research, as well as recruit top researchers to the province. Number 2, improve clinical care by expanding the Allard Hereditary Breast and Ovarian Cancer Clinic and implementing fetal heart rate monitoring in rural hospitals. 3, support advocacy and awareness efforts, including national campaigns and women's health empowerment initiatives. Women and children have special health needs that need to be met if we're going to improve health outcomes. Whether it's increasing funding for obstetrics and midwives, working to expand newborn screening, or supporting important research, today's announcement will help more Albertans lead healthier lives. Moving forward, the UCP will continue building the very thing that makes our public health system strong, a strong economy. We will continue diversifying and growing Alberta's economy so that we can support the world-class publicly funded healthcare system Albertans care so deeply about and deserve. I do want to be crystal clear. Under a UCP government, no Albertan will ever have to pay out of pocket to see their family doctor or get the hospital treatment that they need. The only card that Albertans will ever need to access for healthcare is their healthcare card. Any NDP attack to the contrary is completely and utterly false. As their record demonstrates, the NDP will push away businesses, jobs, and investment with their policies of overspending, which will lead to less government revenue to pay for the services Albertans rely on. Rachel Notley and the NDP may talk a good game on healthcare, but their actions will inevitably undermine it. The choice in this election couldn't be clearer. Is the choice between a UCP government that will cut your taxes and make your life more affordable, or the NDP that would make you pay more across the board from taxes to fuel to groceries and beyond? It's a choice between a UCP government that will keep hard drugs and illegal guns off our street, or an NDP that is soft on crime with MLAs who want to defund the police. And it's a choice between a UCP government that will protect public services like healthcare by building a stronger economy, or the NDP that would endanger our publicly funded healthcare system through its reckless spending and high taxes. At its heart, this election is a choice between moving Alberta forward by building a brighter future or returning to the NDP's costly and failed policies. We can't afford to go back. And with Albertan support, we won't. Instead, we can move forward building the stronger, safer, more prosperous province Albertans deserve today, and that we want our children and grandchildren to inherit tomorrow. Thank you very much, and I'd now like to invite Earl Thiessen, the Executive Director of the Oxford House Foundation of Canada, to deliver some remarks.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say an early happy Mother's Day to everyone. Love your mom, hug your mom, call your mom. I don't have that ability now. I do it through prayer, so it's definitely a day to be celebrated. As an advocate for the many people in my life and profession living with a wide range of disabilities, including autism, I can say this level of support is much needed and welcomed. I have to tell a story about my daughter, Ava. Many children in her life, including some friends, classmates, have autism. My daughter has always been the one to help, support, and spend time with these children in her life. At times, teachers have called on her to help assist when situations arise. We must be doing something right as parents. I think we all need to be more like Ava. And yes, I am having a proud parent moment. I think the general population needs to know that many disabilities go unrecognized and are invisible to many. This is why autism is one of the many disabilities that do go unrecognized. The FSCD program provides support and services for many families. Parents of children with disabilities often need help and support to raise their children. FSCD provides funding for these specific supports and services to help them gain the skills necessary to reach their potential at home and be fully involved in the community. As the rate of autism continues to increase, promoting inclusion is more important than ever. This support for children with autism is a breath of fresh air and will help move the needle for parents and those supporting children with autism. On behalf of the many friends and parents in my life with children with autism, I give our thanks. I'll now turn it over to Justin to run the Q&A. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Earl. We're going to start our Q&A. Catherine's manning the mic over there. So we're going to take our first question in person. Catherine's just right up here on the red X. Tim?
Hey, Tim Brooks, CTV.
Hey, Tim.
Sorry, I hate to go off topic here. There's a new poll out. I know people put different emphasis on polling, but there are some new numbers from Advocacy this morning that show a little bit of NDP momentum, I guess you could call it. Just wondering, regardless of what you think of the poll, is your strategy going to change at all in the next 2 weeks to try to attract undecided voters or voters who are maybe leaning more towards the NDP?
Look, we knew that this was going to be a tough election. I mean, we went for 2 years polling behind the NDP. So I was pleased through the leadership race, through the work that we did in the fall, addressing some issues through the budget, and through coming together as a unified team with such a great group of cabinet ministers. I was so pleased to see that going into the election that we'd narrowed the gap. I mean, we do have a lot of work to do to get people to understand just how important this election is, that we don't go back. The NDP record back in 4 years prior to us, we had 183,000 jobs lost. We had 13 quarters where people left the province. They increased taxes and ended up reducing corporate tax revenue, which made it even more difficult to care for the things that people care about. They racked up almost $80 billion worth of debt, which now is costing us $3 billion a year in finance charges. That is the NDP record. And when I look at what we've done in the 4 years, even though we had a little bit of an interruption, we set things back on track. We put in corporate tax decreases that have increased the amount of investment in this province. So we now have more corporate tax revenue than ever before. We have more people moving here than ever before. It's quarter after quarter of positive growth. We have investment income that is coming in here for venture capital. We met a record amount of investment last year, $729 million, and it just continues to keep on growing. Our film tax credit brought one of the biggest productions in Canadian history into our province, which I think people feel very proud of, that is now going to be a catalyst for more. Our agri-food tax credit is already having an impact. There was a major announcement down south with McCain's that they're putting $600 million investment in their French fry factory. We've got Imperial Oil that announced their petrochemical incentive, because of the petrochemical incentive program. They're announcing renewable diesel, other items that have come in because of the petrochemical incentive program. Dow Chemicals net zero facility, Air Products net zero facility, the Pathways Group has a net zero proposal. The energy companies are reinvesting again. Drilling is up. Why would anyone want to go back? I think that's the real difference in this between the two parties, is that we have an opposition party, an NDP, that is promising to do exactly the same things they did before that ended up crushing our economy. They're going to increase corporate taxes. Ms. Notley just affirmed on the Global Morning Show that she's going to increase corporate income taxes, and she's going to bring through punitive legislation on our farm families. So those are the kind of recycled old ideas that we've seen this newsreel before. We know it doesn't work. We know that it chases away in investment in people, and we're offering a positive vision for the future to keep on doing and building on the great things that we've already been able to accomplish these last 4 years. Thanks.
Next question, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel Emanuel at True North. There's some recent Alberta Health Services data showing decreases in wait time for ambulances. We know that's been something you've been working very hard on. Alberta NDP candidate Kathleen Gainley cast doubt on the data, saying it doesn't align with anecdotal stories she's heard on the campaign trail. So I'm wondering what you think about the NDP casting doubt on the nonpartisan civil service and their reporting.
Well, I'm very surprised at how negative they are about our civil service. I think that our doctors and nurses and other frontline health professionals have done an amazing job. Over the last 3 years, it's been so hard. And we asked them if they could help work with us to help address surgical wait times, to help reduce the ambulance wait times, and to help reduce the hospital wait times. And I can tell you, they have risen to the occasion. I'm very excited to hear the stories about how they're finding little innovations that have allowed us to make some big changes. And it's all for the better. So I trust the statistics. When you look at the fact that we've had virtually no code red alerts on EMS, I think that that's a testament to all of the incredible hard work that our frontline health professionals have done. And I wish that Ms. Notley would stop criticizing them and actually start celebrating their achievement.
Next question on the floor.
Hi, good morning. Carolyn Curry de Castillo at Global.
Hey.
Regarding the forest fires, there's now 300, I believe, Canadian Armed Forces members up there now, in addition to the 2,000 firefighters. How confident are you we've got enough people up there dealing with the fires this weekend?
Well, I can tell you everyone's nervous because we have a heat dome, which is a bit of a unusual weather event that we're expecting to stay over top of us until Tuesday. But one of the great surprises, I think, to all of us was that we have with the PPCLI, they're based here locally, but they also have 300 forest fire trained fighters there. And so when we were able to get the deployment order, it made it very easy to dispatch them. So there's a crew that's been dispatched to Drayton Valley, because once that fire guard is built around that fire, that will allow for people to be able to return home. We also have a group that's deployed to Fox Creek, because we know that there's a danger in the modeling that if the fire comes across, it'll impact Little Smoky, and we want to make sure that that town is protected. And then, of course, the last major group is going to be in Grand Prairie County. And just this morning, we approved a proposal from Grand Prairie County and Grand Prairie to build a pretty extensive fire guard for the city. It's something that they have been working on for a number of years. And with the additional potential for this heat dome, as well as the winds to potentially start threatening again the southern tip of that town, where they're going to be moving forward on that. So I feel like that part with the military deployment has been one aspect. The other thing that we've done, which has just been remarkable to see, is we put a call out to the private sector to ask them if they could give us, if they would contract with us so that we could bring the gear out so that we could engineer these fire guards. And we've just been delighted to receive dozens of offers. So the private sector is going to be assisting in building those fire guards. So I think it's a combination with not only the firefighters we have, but as well, we've made a call for 1,500 firefighters from across the country to come in through the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. Many of those have already begun to arrive. We've got crews from British Columbia, Ontario, I believe New Brunswick, Alaska, and elsewhere. On top of that, the military. On top of that, reserves can be called up as well through the process that we've now set up. On top of that, the private sector. On top of that, when I was in Grand Prairie, I saw not only a crew from Chestermere Fire Department, but also Calgary Fire Department, and they were coming up to do relief work. It's amazing when you see this kind of all hands on deck approach. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that the weather is with us through this weekend, that the fire guards get built in time. And I'm feeling very confident that we've got a really solid team working on this at the provincial level, coordinating so well with the municipal levels of government who are leading it in some cases. And we'll be watching it very closely through the weekend and be giving you updates. There'll be another update today at 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Operator, will you please put through our first caller?
Thank you. First caller is Graham Thompson, the Star.
Hi, I've got sort of issue of process here. Jason Copping, when you opened your statement, you were speaking as the health minister. This is a partisan event, and maybe I'm old school, but there's a convention where ministers and premiers don't speak in their capacity as a government minister or premier during a partisan event. and this happened, of course, a few days ago with the UCP leader, Danielle Smith, speaking as premier. So is it a case like, do you understand the convention that you shouldn't be using your government hat during a partisan event, because it can be seen as you trying to give yourself an advantage during an election campaign?
Well, we do appreciate your observations on that, Graham. This event is paid for by the campaign. All the resources here are from the campaign, and we do have a record that we want to defend. And the candidate for Calgary Varsity does have a record that he should be proud of defending, and I'm pleased that he's here to be able to defend that. The candidate from Calgary Shaw also has a record that she wants to defend, and I have a record that I want to defend as premier as well. So this is paid for 100% through our party resources, but we do have a dual message. There's things that we've done that we're going to celebrate, and there's things that we're going to do.
Thank you. Operator, next caller.
Thank you. Michelle Belfontaine, CBC.
Oh, hi there. Thank you for taking my question. This is a question for the UCP leader. We're hearing from farmers in evacuation zones like Wildwood who feel that they aren't getting enough firefighting support, so they're fighting the fires themselves to protect their property and livestock. So how do you respond to this criticism, and what do you tell these people who are putting their safety at risk?
You know, this has been an extraordinary fire season. I haven't seen the most recent numbers of where we would normally be by this time of year, but the fire season, normally around this time of year, we've only had 546 hectares burned. This time we've had 445,000 hectares burned. And I know that the approach that we have to take in the emergency response center is that we have to prioritize the potential for loss of life, and we have to prioritize the potential for loss of communities. If you look at a number of these fire fronts, they've come up very close to the borders of towns, in some cases less than 5 kilometers. It's part of the reason why we have had 31,000 people evacuated and why we still have people on evacuation notice. I wish we could have everybody everywhere that it's needed all the time, but it is part of the reason why we are calling in resources from outside the province through the Canadian Forest Fire Interagency Centre. It's why we've worked with the federal government to deploy the military and deployed them immediately. It's why they're calling up the reserves. It's why we're also reaching out into the private sector to ask for firefighting expertise. Many of our private sector companies in the oil and gas sector, as well as in the CP Rail, CN Rail, they have firefighting capability, and we're also asking for people to offer their support if they've got firefighting training. Plus, we're also leveraging the support from the various municipal firefighting forces. So it really is an all hands on deck approach when you've got 445,000 hectares that end up burning essentially all at once. You do end up with these challenges deploying resources, but I'm happy to continue monitoring the news. We have meetings every morning at 8:30. I will definitely take these things forward to see if there's additional resources that can be deployed, but we're in a very urgent situation. There's just a lot of fires to put out in a lot of places.
Thank you. Operator, last caller.
Thank you. Lisa Johnson, Edmonton Journal.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I have a couple of things I'm going to try and shotgun here. On Thursday, Ms. Smith, you appeared at a party press conference and you presented wildfire updates right off the hop, which I'm sure a lot of Albertans appreciated. But it was in your capacity as UCP leader. So I'm wondering if your message to Albertans is that to get the latest information before wildfire officials go up, say, at 3 p.m., they should be tuning into party press conferences. I'm hoping you can just clarify that. And I'm also wondering if, in regards to some past comments from an NDP candidate in Livingston McLeod, we obviously saw some headlines here that Kevin Van Teegen made some comments that your candidate, Jason Nixon, said were disparaging about the oil and gas sector. So I'm wondering if your defense of your own past comments are that this is water under the bridge, that you've changed your mind, that this was old news, and people should judge you by your more recent policy. Why is your party also attacking an NDP candidate for past comments? Why is this different? Can you explain why that's different?
Well, let me answer the first one. I observed that when I did my first candidate press conference after the fires broke, virtually all the questions from the media were on the wildfire. So, I mean, I'm happy if you want me to just refuse taking your questions on wildfire. I just feel like this is information you want to know, and if you want to know it, I'm prepared to deliver it to you. On that particular day in question, there had been two major press releases that had just gone out within the previous hour or two, so I felt like you were going to ask me the question, so I thought I should be upfront about what those decisions were. But, you know, happy if you want to get your press gallery to complain and tell me not to stop doing any questions from you on wildfires and arrange to do it another way. We'll take that under consideration. The second part is that, look, I think candidates do have to account for their policy views. If their policy views are going to shape the kind of decisions that they make when they're in government. People have been asking me all kinds of questions about whether past things I've mused about over 27 years impact the kind of decisions I'll make today. And I've been able to say no. There may have been musings in the past, but look at what I'm talking about today. Look at what we've done. Look at what our team has passed. Look at the commitments that we've made. I would like to see these candidates who have said, as the Calgary Elbow candidate for the NDP has said, that hydrocarbons must be phased out altogether. The other, Kevin Van Teegen, using disparaging terms to talk about our oil workers and saying that, you know, saying the things that he did. Does he still believe that? Does he still believe that the energy sector shouldn't exist in this province? I think that's relevant to knowing, did he change his mind, or as an elected member, is he going to be working for the destruction of our energy sector? You know where we stand as a UCP. We stand foursquare behind our energy workers. We put forward an emissions reduction and energy development plan that talks about using and leveraging the resource and expertise within our energy sector in order to be able to develop out the hydrogen economy, to develop carbon capture utilization and storage, to be looking at ways that we can export more LNG to reduce emissions around the world. I don't think that there's any doubt about where we stand, but I think when you start seeing that the defeatist attitude among the NDP candidates that, oh, well, I guess we'll just phase out the energy sector. Oh, well, I guess we'll just meet the electricity targets of being net zero by 2035, even though it's going to increase power bills by 40% because it's going to cost $52 billion. I don't know. Like, these things to me are things that people need to know when they're making their decision about who to vote for this election. Elections have consequences, and we know what's going to happen with the NDP. If the NDP get elected, they will increase corporate income taxes. They campaigned last time on without mentioning they were going to bring in a carbon tax, and then they went and did it. They brought in an emissions cap. They put limitations on our oil sands. They talked about a just transition for coal workers. They phased out coal early. These are the records that they are doing. And when you see evidence that they've got candidates that are going to do more of the same, I think people have to take that into account when they're casting their ballot, and I hope they do.
That's all the time we
Thanks,
have.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.